Chinese thermonuclear reactor operating 10,000 years and its implications for humanity. Prologue: beginning of a new era. Before watching, put class and subscribe, it will greatly help the channel. Okay, let's start. Hefei, China 2025 year. CFETR, China Fusion Engineering Test Reactor, plan become prototype commercial station by 2048. Goal: produce electricity thermonuclear fusion control extreme hot gas hydrogen temperature reactor reach or exceed 100 million degrees Celsius. CFETR expected generate 200 megawatt electrical energy considering losses for heating and plasma confinement. The laboratory of the Plasma Physics Institute resembled a hive in feverish excitement. Graphs flashed on screens, sensors buzzed like enraged wasps, while the EASR reactor towered in the center, a steel cocoon entwined with superconducting coils. Scientists in protective suits stood at control panels, eyes fixed on the holographic projection of a plasma sphere. 10 million degrees. 17 minutes. Record. "We domesticated a star," whispered Dr. Li Chen, wiping sweat from his forehead. His voice trembled as if he did not believe what he saw. At a press conference broadcasted across all continents, China's prime minister smiled as if he held not an account of scientific breakthrough but rather the detonator of a new era. Artificial sun is no longer fiction. Today we took a crucial step toward energy that will transform humanity. World media drowned headlines: end of oil wars. Green paradise on horizon. But behind the scenes remained main. In EASST protocols was mentioned uncontrollable emission quark gluon plasma. One expert called it God's hiccups. He got fired next day. 2035, Gobi Desert. CFETR, fusion power colossus as tall as Eiffel Tower, rose above sands like new religion temple. Fireworks of holographic dragons accompanied launch, drones soared projecting infinity hieroglyph in sky. Billions watched first megawatt of eternal energy flow through superconducting lines. 10,000 years of light, 10,000 years of prosperity. But in the shadows of the celebration, other figures whispered. For CFETR, stability code 88 was required, an alloy of rare earth metals, extracted only from abandoned uranium mines in Xinjiang. The first batches of workers descending into those tunnels returned with skin that glowed in darkness. Medical reports were classified. 2040, Global Energy Network. Chinese solar nodes enveloped the planet. Europe paid through emissions quota, Africa via lithium extraction rights, USA with AI technologies. The world was divided into those connected to the grid and those worshipping rusty wind turbines. "This is not energy, this is a loop around humanity's neck," claimed Nobel laureate Eric Walters before his channel on Metaverse was blocked for spreading panic. A generation of engineers with neutron radiation burns on their hands was already growing in underground labs in Hefei. They called themselves children of plasma and believed CFETR wasn't a machine, but a living organism. One wrote in his diary, "The reactor breathes. And someday it will wake up." A week later they found him in a reactor shaft to Euro. The body had evaporated but the watch on his wrist was still ticking. Part 1, The Golden Age and Hidden Cracks. 2040th to 2070th years. Dream City Shenzhou, 2055 year. Skyscrapers made of graphene glass reflected holograms of dragons that coiled between floors, advertising eternal CFETR energy. On streets illuminated by plasma lamps, robot couriers delivered packages while children played with neutrino holograms. A gift from China's government for the 10-year anniversary of the era of sunlight. "Look, Mom. I can hold a lightning bolt in my hands," screamed the girl whose palms shimmered blue from artificial discharge. Her mother, a process engineer from Sinolite Corporation, obsessively checked her wrist for implant charge level. 97%, all normal. Every Chinese citizen carried a chip synced with CFETR. Disconnection meant water, medicine, air access loss. On giant screens over Tiananmen Square broadcasted speech of Chairman Li. "Our space stations are powered by the same reactors as your homes. Even Mars will soon be lit up by Chinese sunlight." But behind the scene, in quarters for unconnected, fires already burned from drones disassembled into parts there, in shadows, first slogans were born: "Light is slavery." Minescode 88 Xinjiang year 2016/S. Deep underground where radiation sensors exceeded 500 Roentgens, people in tattered gas masks hammered rock, their skin glowed greenish like fireflies, bones deformed adapting to pressure. Don't stop. Only those who have met the quota will be taken upstairs. The overseer shouted as he beat the 12-year-old boy with a whip on his back. A miner known as Glucker, whose face was hidden by a scar from an avalanche, whispered legends to newcomers. They say that in the veins of those who have lived here a year flows not blood but liquid, Commodore 64 code. And one day we shall awaken. 1 month later, Grouse disappeared. 6 months later, his body was found in Tunnel 47, or what remained of it. The skeleton grew crystals like quartz, while the chest cavity pulsed like a second heart. Scientists from Peking called this spontaneous thermonuclear mineralization. Miners' deep berths. Pirate reactor, Prometheus, Nevada 2067th year. In an abandoned Cold War bunker, under sandstorms, EU/US agents assembled, set up from stolen CFETR plans, hanging on wall a poster, "Freedom does not shine out of Beijing." "Are you sure this will work?" /S Emily Carter, a former participant of the failed ITER project, pointed at the cracked magnetic holder. "We have no choice. Either we launch Prometheus or China will turn us into their energy colonies," a Euro grumbled General Maxwell, whose cybernetic prosthetic powered by a mini-reactor with an inscription "Made in Taiwan." When the system was activated, plasma sang like an angelic choir. But after 10 minutes, sensors screamed, "Stop it, magnetic field." Emily didn't have time to finish. Bunker wall evaporated in dazzling flash. At desert spot, kilometer-diameter crater formed filled with vitreous melt. Survivors named it Crying Lake. Anyone approaching heard voices, "Help, switch off." Later discovered this was echo of neutrino pulse recorded in plasma. The shadow over the Golden Age. By 2070, the world had split. The Sun Alliance, led by China, was building orbital cities. The Shadow Alliance secretly developed weapons based on stolen technologies, plasma cannons incinerating entire armies. Deep burrowers mined tunnels under reactors, their skin now covered in Code 88 armor. They worshipped an ancient miner's saying, "The earth will swallow light." At one of the secret meetings in Geneva, a Chinese defector handed over a chip with data to the Alliance. CFETR is not eternal, every reactor is a bomb, Li Chen knew. The chip self-destructed after 10 seconds. In remnants of files was mentioned word quantum decay, a process that will start when reactor chain reaches critical mass. Chairman Li in his office looks at Globus, 80% marked as CFETR zones. He presses a button, map changes, all marks red. Inscription: critical mass 98.7%. We gave them light, but darkness was always part of the deal. Collapse, Part 2. 2077th year. The last mass in Hefei. Cathedral of St. Michael, constructed in 19th century, stood in shadow of CFETR reactor. Its spire, once directed towards sky, now appeared like broken finger pointing at steel monster devouring horizon. Inside, under stained glass windows depicting Judgment Day, gathered handful believers, among them Father Matthew, priest with face scarred by neutrino burns. "O Lord, save us from fire that burns without wood and from light that carries darkness." His voice quivered when sirens wailed outside the windows. The city's monitors flickered with a warning: quantum decay. 12 minutes left. People in panic ran towards bunkers, but Father Matvi remained by the altar. Joining him was Li Jing, former CFETR engineer, wearing around her neck a cross gifted by her dying Christian mother. "Why do you pray? God has left us when we created this." She pointed at the reactor whose walls were already cracking. "No, child. He gave us a choice: true light or fake. We chose the latter." Explosion swallowed their dialogue. Please provide the text to be translated. Day of Flames. The CFETR reactor fell apart, releasing a plasma ball that incinerated Hefei in seconds. This was but the first chord of a symphony of destruction. From America to Europe, twin reactors exploded like garlands. Fire tornadoes created by helium-3 synthesis scorched oceans, turning water into steam. The sky turned crimson and rain from molten silicon washed entire nations off the face of the earth. In the epicenter of the disaster, amidst the ruins of Shenzhou, only one man survived, a blind old man named John. He had once been a scientist participating in CFETR project, but after his wife's death he went to a monastery. Now he wandered through the desert guided by faith and a voice that called itself the Angel of Void. You longed to become like God but created hell. Seek the Ark. What Ark? Cried John into the dead wind. That which is built from the wreckage of your pride. The Great Wall of China, the longest wall in history. Stability zones. 5 years after Flame Day, Earth resembled a patchwork quilt. Areas of stability, territories around surviving reactor fragments, became oases in radioactive desert. But the cost of life here was high. Sun worshipper gangs demanded bloody sacrifices for access to energy, while Deep One's mutants abducted children believing they could breathe poison. In one of these zones, near the ruins of Moscow, an unexpected community emerged. Its founder was a former soldier Artem, who wore on his chest an icon of Serafim Sarovsky. Gathered around him those rejecting the cult of technology. We will not become slaves of broken shards. CFETR here underground we shall construct a new life with prayer, candles, and work/s. They dug out a cave church in an old bunker system. The altar was made from reactor fragments, and instead of lamps, they used luminous mushrooms growing on codename 88. Every Sunday Artem read lines from a surviving gospel according to Matthew. For what profit is it to a man if he gains the whole world but loses his own soul? But even here in the shelter, there were those who whispered about symbiosis with crystals, a technology promising fusion of humans with CFETR energy. Please provide me with the Russian text that you would like translated. I will then give you an accurate translation directly in English, following your instructions to avoid any additional commentary or explanations. The Cross in the Wilderness. Decade after catastrophe, across wastelands journeyed a young man named David. On his back he bore steel cross, a Euro scrap from reactor farm discovered in ruins of cathedral. His mother, died from radiation, had willed it to him. Bring it to the City of Light. There you will understand why. City of Light, Chicago, cyborg prophet, resurrected Li Chen, religion of synthesis, stand as one with plasma, immortality. David once stumbled upon an old man crucified on drone wreckage, still alive. They want to build a Tower of Babel of reactors. Stop them, the cross is the key. What key? David pressed a flag with water to his lips. The one that unbars a door between light and dark. An old man died, pointing his hand northward. There behind the dunes loomed a massive structure, a half-ruined power plant over which circled mutant ravens with plasmic thread wings. The part concludes with a vision, Father Motvi and Li Qing leading the crowd of survivors through an inferno. Above them shines a constellation shaped like a cross. And they will see the Son of Man coming on clouds with great power and glory. Part 3: Survival in the Ruins. 2125th year. Revelation in Cave Chapel. The protagonist is Ilya, grandson of Li Jing and last descendant of East Engineers. He stood on his knees in an underground chapel carved into rock. The walls were adorned with murals depicting Christ carrying a lamp amidst reactor ruins and the Mother of God shielding a flaming CFETR globe. A cross hung from Ilya's chest, forged from fragments of reactor coils, all that remained from his father who died in battle against the Plasma Syndicate. My God, lead me. I don't want to repeat their mistakes, he whispered, opening his fist. In his palm lay a holographic map found in the bunker under Hefei. It shimmered with the words EASTS blueprints. The key to salvation or another catastrophe. Old monk Father Nicodem, guardian of the chapel, offered him an old book in metal cover, gospel mixed with technical manuals. Your grandfather believed that CFETR could be fixed, but pride blinded him. If you follow this path, remember the devil lurks not in plasma but in a heart that thinks itself creator. Elijah looked at crucifix above altar where instead of body of Christ was silhouette reactor. It not coincidence, thought he. A new day has begun, the sun rises in the sky, casting golden rays through the window pane. Birds chirp melodiously outside as a gentle breeze wafts through the room. Coffee steams softly on the table, inviting you to embrace the morning. It's time for a fresh start, filled with possibilities and new beginnings. Answer: a day has begun, the sun rises in sky, rays golden, window pane, birds chirp, outside, breeze gentle, room, coffee steams softly, invite embrace, morning, start anew possibilities. The way through sunlight deserts. The path to zones of stability lay through radioactive dunes where bones of the deceased glowed, and in the sky plasma syndicate drones patrolled. Their preachers, clad in plasma mantles, spoke through loudspeakers. Receive the holy plasma in your heart. Become children of the artificial sun. Elijah hid in ruins of church, met Maria, mutant girl with skin covered by shimmering patterns. Her eyes glowed like lamps, but she held rosary beads in her hands. They burned my settlement for refusing to worship the reactor euro. Now I'm looking for electros. They say they can absorb sin from my blood. She showed an X-shaped burn on her chest. Sin is not swallowed. It is redeemed. They moved together. At night, by a fire made of glowing wood, Maria confessed, I am from children of CFETR. But I ran away when I learned that their leader wants to blow up the last zones. He says God commands destruction of all technology, even if innocent people die. Your translation goes here. Electric Wolves Den. Epicenter of the Day of Flames turned out to be a crater whose bottom pulsed with an ionic crystal, a gigantic polyhedron absorbing residual radiation. Around it were darting electras resembling living lightning. Their leader, a creature with a face like melted glass, hissed, Crystal, our heart. You are not worthy of it. Ilya took out a crossreel. The metal hummed, responding to crystal energy. Suddenly in his mind emerged grandfather's words from an archive recording. Crystal is not an artifact. It is a life form, or soul of CFETR. The battle was short. Maria, sacrificing herself, diverted the electros by absorbing their energy. Her last words, give me strength. Save them, and us. When Elijah touched the crystal, it shattered, revealing inside a small ball of cold fusion, the Star of Bethlehem, as Father Nicodim later named it. Please provide the text for translation. Choice and prophecy. Returning to the chapel, Elijah assembled a reactor from parts obtained in the zones. Father Nicodim prayed over the star, reciting verses from the Apocalypse. And his lap is the lamb, and night will not be there /s/s. But Plasma Syndicate and CFETR children already surrounded cave. Sectarian leader, Plasma Prophet, screamed, give back the Sacred Heart. We will become gods. Aaron, leader of CFETR kids, aimed a plasma gun at Ilya. Destroy this monstrosity or you will repeat the sin of your ancestors. Elijah looked at the cross in his hands, then at the drawings. Suddenly, the Star of Bethlehem shone, projecting a hologram, a planet where reactors worked in harmony with nature, and people harvested under domes woven from light. Is possible? He whispered. Maria's voice answered as if from a crystal itself. Only if the light inside is brighter than outside. The part ends with a dilemma. Elijah starts the reactor, but Zvezda requires sacrifice a voluntary merging with her. Two options flicker on the screen. Sacrifice oneself. Destroy CFETR. Final frame shadow Elijah crosshands falls reactor fuses silhouetted crucifixion /s/s assistant. Epilogue light and shadow. The prompt does not specify which text to translate. Please provide the text you want translated into English for the next response. Church of Crucified Reactor. Elijah stood before the restored CFETR. Now it resembled not a machine but a tree of intertwined coils and crystals. In its core pulsed the Star of Bethlehem, while roots extended into the ground like tentacles. Father Nicodem lay at its base, bleeding after battle with the Plasma Syndicate. His hand clutched an Evangelion, its pages glued together by red spots. She did not demand sacrifices until we tried to tame her. The old man croaked, pointing at Zvezda. She waits for a voluntary offering, as he does. Elijah glanced at the cross in his hand. The metal melted, reacting to the crystal's radiation. A hologram vision shown by Star flickered through the air of a city beneath domes, children without mutations, rivers free from radiation. Yet behind this was a shadow, a line of people whose bodies transformed into transparent crystals and eyes became bottomless black holes. Please provide a sentence or text that needs translating. Voice from burning bush. Suddenly the star spoke with Maria's voice, whose image materialized from light. I am part of her now. She is not wicked, just different. To give life, one must give up their own. Like a grain falling into the earth. Elijah recalled Christ's words from the Gospel which Artem read, if a grain of wheat falls into the earth and dies, it remains alone, but if it dies, it produces much fruit. Behind chapel walls explosions thundered. Children of CFETR and Syndicate annihilated each other, unaware that reactor began to vibrate. Magnetic field weakened. Choose, Aaron screamed as he burst into the room with a bloody knife. Destroy it, or we're all. His voice cut off. Aaron's body was pierced by a plasma spike of the plasma prophet whose skin had already crystallized halfway. Synthesis or death? Harvest. Elijah approached Star, her light burned his face, leaving a scar in the shape of cross. Do you want me to become like you? He asked, not knowing who was addressing him, Crystal, God, or grandfather's shadow. In response, Star showed two paths. Victim, his body will dissolve, becoming a seed for new reactors that will nourish Earth without decaying. But everyone who accepts energy shall be carrier of spark, particle of his consciousness. Destruction. CFETR will explode, purifying the planet with a radiation storm. Humanity will return to the Stone Age but preserve its soul. There's a third way, Elijah whispered. He thrust a Kroskatushka into the star, directing energy to the ground. The reactor shuddered, and a beam of light shot up into the sky, piercing the clouds. Above the ruins appeared a vision of thousands holding hands, their bodies glowing with warm radiance rather than crystals. The final remains open. If one believes the Syndicate, Elijah has become a new messiah of Technologio Euro. His body is gone, but the star has propagated into thousands of safe reactors. If you believe in children of CFETR, he destroyed CFETR, and a beam of light was a divine sign, the beginning of long healing. According to old men from Cave Church, Elijah went into Star to pray for humanity like Christ in tomb. But on the stone of the ruined altar they found an inscription, the true light enlightens all. A nearby undamaged cross lay, along with a hologram of Dr. Li Chan's last words. We thought we tamed a star, but stars do not tolerate masters. What should I translate? Last frame. The camera slowly pulls back, revealing a planet from space. Stability zones shimmer like constellations. In the distance against the Milky Way, a new star lights up, either an explosion or a birth. And the light shines in darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. Nicodem's voice echoes behind the scenes, concluding the story. But whose light was it? Question without an answer. Comrades, thank you for watching. Share this video so people know better the history of this holiday. You can support the channel by liking and leaving a comment. See you soon.